Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Jordan and this is Crocodile MTG here bringing you another Magic the Gathering video. Today we are playing Colorless Eldrazi. Colorless Eldrazi runs 4 of the Eldrazi temples and 4 Simian Spirit Guides to take advantage of fast mana. Also, if your opponent is on the play, we have Gemstone Cavern, which we can play at the beginning of our opponent's upkeep if they're on the play. That way we can ditch a card to Gemstone Cavern, have an extra mana going to our turn, and hopefully throw out some 3-drops on turn 1. We also have removal in the form of Dismember. We have sort of disruption in the form of Warping Wail. And we have some utility cards. All our lands are pretty much utility. We have 5 man lands in the form of 3 Blink Moss, 2 Mutavaults. We have some Zafran Void. That's the Scry land that came out in Dominaria. We also have Scavenging Ground to kind of combat some graveyard hate. And we also have Ghost Quarters to kind of take out some man lands, and they're just there for utility. We also have Serum Powder. Now, Serum Powder, anytime you'd mulligan, and if this card is in your hand, then you can exile your entire hand and draw as many cards as you just had in your hand, rather than going down a card like mulliganing typically does. Now, as far as our Eldrazi package goes, we're running 3 Eternal Scourges. Now, whenever this card becomes a target of a spell or ability, it is exiled, but you can cast it from exile. So things like Anger of the Gods, spells that target, you're just always going to have an Eternal Scourge around, as long as there's not like any Living End or something similar that makes you sacrifice. I guess Liliana of the Veil also can get this, but you most likely have something else out as well that you might want to sacrifice instead. We have Matter Reshaper, which is another utility card. Whenever Matter Reshaper dies, you can reveal the top card of your library. You may put that onto the battlefield if it's a permanent 3 or less. Otherwise, you can just put it in your hand. So you basically get a free draw, or you get some sort of other card, even a Simian Spirit Guide if you reveal it. You can just throw that onto the battlefield. It just instantly replaces itself, or you get the draw off it. It's a decent card. Eldrazi Mimic is another utility card. It's 2 mana to come down, so it comes down typically on turn 2 or sooner. And whenever another colorless creature, so all your Eternal Scourges, all your Matter Reshapers, all your Thought-Knot Seers, all your Reality Smashers, whenever another colorless card comes down, colorless creature comes down, you can have Eldrazi Mimic mimic its power and toughness, essentially. So you throw a 4/4 Thought-Knot Seer down on turn 3 or turn 4. You have an Eldrazi Mimic on the battlefield. You can go ahead and play that Mimic, or make that Mimic into a 4/4 and swing in for 4. This is a very versatile card with all your other Eldrazi's. We also have Chalice of the Void. Chalice on 1, Chalice on 2, sometimes even Chalice on 0. Seems to disrupt a lot of decks, especially ones that are currently trying to utilize Phoenix. Now, Faithless Looting, Aether Vial, Ancient Stirrings, they're all kind of taking over the format. Chalice on 1 just kind of stops all those cards and makes it harder for your opponent to use their low mana spells. In the sideboard, we have 4 Leyline of the Voids, 4 Spatial Contortions, which that's the +3, -3, as some removal spells. We also have a Battle Sphere in case we're against aggressive decks or decks like Burn, that we just want to be able to gain some life later in the game. We also have Karn to kind of outgrind our opponents if they're like in the Jeskai matchup or a similar matchup. We also have Dampening Sphere, and finally Ratchet Bomb. Just once again for those low mana decks or humans. And Dampening Sphere is really good against Titan right now. Not so much Scape Shift, but the Amulet Bloom deck. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into some matches. Hello everyone and welcome to match number 1 with Colorless Eldrazi. We are on the play. We're going to keep this hand because we have a curve of Eldrazi Mimic into Matter Reshaper. Hopefully that's aggressive enough. We also have a Simian Spirit Guide in case we draw a Thought-Knot Seer or Reality Smasher, and then we can smash some face a lot faster. So we're going to lead here on a waste and pass the turn. opponent is starting off pretty aggressive with a Vexing Devil. I think we're going to take the 4 damage here. They could be on some variation of burn or something that I'm just not sure. So if I lead with Eldrazi Mimic this turn, next turn I can cast only 1 Matter Reshaper. I think I'm just going to play the Matter Reshaper this turn. Sucks we didn't draw the Eldrazi Temple last turn. We could have played out the Mimic on 1 and then Matter Reshaper for 2 and swing in for with a 3/2. Hopefully we can get a little more information on what our opponent's on this turn. Another Vexing Devil. Our Chalice of the Voids are probably going to be good in this matchup if we can draw them. I'm going to take the 4 damage again. Alright, Serum Powder. Serum Powder doesn't really do anything here for us. I guess we can play it though. We can exile Simian Spirit Guide. I could have also played the Eldrazi Mimic, but I just think having access to enough mana is probably decent. Enough mana to cast our Reality Smashers. And in case we need the Ghost Court or something, if they're like Burrows or I think this could be also like Rakdos Burn or some budget burn deck. So we'll be swinging in for 6 a turn. Hopefully that is enough. And if it's not, we'll be looking for Chalices in game 2. So our opponent seems to only have 1 mana still. Alright, they bolted. Yeah, they bolted one of our... Alright, Battlefield. So Eternal Scourge is really good here. Not only is it a 3/3, but it's a 3/3 whenever it's targeted. It gets exiled, and then you can just recast it. So we're going to play an Eldrazi Mimic here. We're going to swing in for 6. So 6 this turn, 8 next turn. And hopefully that's enough to win the game. Hopefully we can get a little... I'm assuming our opponent's just possibly mono red burn, but we'll find out. Bushwhacker. So this makes me think they're like either a Naya or a red-green. It could also be a Vegevine deck that just doesn't have anything going for it. So we're going to swing in here. I think I want to swing with everything. The only thing I'm debating swinging with is Eldrazi Mimic. So if they block the Mimic, they're just dead next turn. We'll keep the Mimic back for now. If I draw like a Reality Smasher or a Thought-Knot Seer, this Mimic becomes a 4/4 or a 5/5, and I think that's just better than just swinging it and trading with a Goblin Bushwhacker. I just don't think that's a good trade for us. So our opponent's not going to block. Interesting. So we have a bunch of mana in our hand. Our opponent still seems to only be on 1 mana, since they did not slam down a lightning. Okay, so lightning bolt on the Scrounger, exiles the Scrounger. We get to just play the Scrounger next turn and threaten lethal still. So we're in a fine spot. That had no effect on us whatsoever. And now they're just dead. So I take the 1, down to 11. Ghost Quarter, cast Eternal Scourge. Mimic copies, and we swing in for lethal. Which it would have been lethal anyhow, but... So we're going to bring in this Batter Skull. I think some Spatial Contortions are better than the Dismember. I don't think it's necessary, or necessarily... It's not faster, it's just better. I don't think we need to be taking 4 life against a burn deck. Now, without knowing if they have Vegevines, I don't want to bring in this Leyline of the Void. And I think I take out this Warping Whale. I think our plan is just to be bigger than our opponent, and then if we have a Chalice... I think Chalice on 1 slows them down quite a bit. They couldn't cast anything they cast in game 1, being they only had 1 land. I do expect them to be a faster, go wide, do unfair things deck, being they're running Bushwhacker, and they kept a 1-lander. So, we'll see. If they end up having Vegevines, I think I'll bring in a few copies of the Leylines. I don't think I need to bring in all of them. So I think I'm going to use Serum Powder here and exile this hand. The Mimics are okay because, like, if our opponent's trying to go turn 1, turn 2, and just slam a bunch of stuff, we can play a Mimic on 1, Mimic on 2. So our opponent's down to 6. We're on the draw. Maybe we just keep this hand. For the reason I just said. We can Mimic on 1, Mimic on 2. And then turn 3, if we have nothing, we can just play a Serum Powder. And then we have 4 mana. So our opponent keeps 6. They're going to start with a Goblin Guide. So we get to see the top of our library here. If it's a land, we get to put it in to our hand. It is a Chalice of the Void. So I'm going to immediately cast that Chalice of the Void on 1. I think it'll stop our opponent from doing some unfair things. I don't think all the unfair things. we're going to cast this Chalice. And then hopefully we don't die next turn. If we do die, I'm sorry, I tried. Hopefully our opponent's just on a 1-land hand again. That'd be kind of nice for us. Alright, Simian Spirit Guide. And 1 mana spell. Interesting. I have no idea why our opponent chose to do that. I'm assuming they just concede here. Alright, we're going to cast an Eldrazi Mimic. Pass the turn. Our opponent must have kept a 1-lander because they're throwing out all their 1-mana goblins. Again, I have no clue what this deck is. I'm going to cast this Serum Powder. Then I'm going to cast this Mimic. I'm using my Simian Spirit Guides pretty loosely, mainly because once we hit 4 mana, 5 mana, there's really not much to do as far as, because anything we draw, we're just playing. We're just trying to be bigger than our opponent, so. Next turn, if we don't draw anything relevant, I'm going to probably Chalice on 2, and I think that's just going to stop our opponent enough to concede. Alright, we drew a Scrounger. I think I like playing Scrounger here. It makes both our Mimics into 3/3s, and then we can swing in for 6, and then 9 next turn. Alright, and this is potentially a 2-turn clock. So we swing in for 6 here. Our opponent goes down to 12. And then if we draw anything 3 power or greater, sorry, greater than 3 power. So if you draw a Thought-Knot Seer next turn, we just have lethal. No, we don't. We're 1 short. It's been a long day. I can struggling to math right now. So there's the Thought-Knot Seer. Now we get to finally see what our opponent is playing. And then we can swing in for 13. One thing our opponent can do that he may not realize is he can bolt the Scrounger and force it to exile. But then I just get to swing in with my 2 4/4s, and then alright, our opponent concedes. Alright guys, welcome to match number 2. So our opponent's on the play. We have a Gemstone Cavern we can play on their turn. We can actually exile a Scrounger, or a Scourger. I'm sorry, I kept calling it Scrounger. That's Scourger. So we can actually exile a Scourger and not go down a card, and then we can just lead with Chalice on 1, depending on what our opponent does. I think this hand's pretty decent. I'm going to keep it. And if we draw an Eldrazi Temple off the top, I think we just are extremely far ahead. So let's see what our opponent's plan is here. Hopefully this Chalice on 1 affects them. And it doesn't look like it's going to. Alright, Inquisition of Kozilek. So in this case, I feel like we're playing against Abzan because of the Windswept Heath they had. So Chalice on 1, I'm not sure how much that would actually affect them. I guess enough to take it. Alright, we're going to play a Waste here. We'll play out this Mimic. Then next turn we can play this Scourge. Eternal Scourge. We can play this Scourge from the exile to the battlefield and swing in for 3. The following turn, hopefully we can play a Thought-Knot Seer. This could also be like a green-black value deck. Those have been somewhat popular with the Assassin's Trophy that's recently come out. So I have a few different options. I think I still just want to be aggressive. I'll play at this Scourge, make my Mimic into a 3/3 and swing in for 3. Our opponent has quite a bit of removal spells, so that might come back to hurt us with this Scavenging Ooze. Sorry guys, adjusting. So our opponent, he passes the turn. Alright. So I think I want to start here with attacking. We'll see what our opponent does. So Fatal Push on the Mimic. Alright. I'm going to let them block with Skoos, and if they try to eat the Mimic, which it looks like they're going to, I'm going to dismember the Ooze. And then my follow-up is going to be another Mimic. So they go up to 15. We hit them down to 12. Alright, another Mimic. And then hopefully we can throw out this Thought-Knot Seer next turn. Alright, we have a Grimflayer on the battlefield. We have a Blink Moth on top. I don't think I want the Blink Moth. I'm going to play out this Thought-Knot Seer. Alright, so our opponent crack fetches, doesn't do anything. So we have the option of taking Kalitas here or Vraska. I think we want Kalitas. I think we just want to be the aggressor in this matchup. Alright, so we're going to swing in for 4 here. So our opponent has sorcery, creature, instant. So we can let our opponent hit us the 4. Hit us 4/4. Yeah, I don't think I mind falling down to 12 here. If our opponent just goes land Vraska, that doesn't really do much to our board, and then we can just swing in for lethal. They have to find a removal spell for this Thought-Knot Seer or a blocker. Otherwise, they're just dead. So it looks like they put a Polluted Delta in their graveyard. Okay, Mutavault off the top's pretty good. Alright, that's the game. So sideboarding, I think I want these Ley Lines of the Void. Do I actually? They have things like Grimflayer, which makes me want them, but I don't know if they're any good. So they have a lot of 4. Maybe we're just becoming a grind game. We want Karn and Batterskull. I'm going to bring in 1 Ley Line because I feel like it can be okay, but without the universal effect. Like if they have Tarmogoyfs or Scavenging Ooze, I just don't think this does enough. The only thing I think it might be worth is Grimflayer and if they have Traverse. But without knowing they have the Traverse and the Ley Line, I just don't think I want it. I think I want to keep Warping Whale in case they have something like Damnation. I think that could be good for us. Question is, what do I cut here? So they had Fatal Push. But they're playing a lot of like 4s. I'm assuming they have Maelstrom Pulse. They probably have Assassin's Trophy. Chalice on 2 would be good, but let's take a Warping Whale out in 2 of these Chalices. Because I don't think this is the best matchup for Chalice. So our opponent's on the play. I'm going to keep this. We can lead with a turn 1 Mimic. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to play Gemstone Cavern and Exile Scourge. And then we're going to play out a turn 1 Mimic. Scavenger Grounds is actually pretty okay here. With their graveyard shenanigans, we can kind of exile some stuff. Alright, so let's start with the Void. Put Serum Powder on bottom. We're going to play a Mimic. And we'll see if our opponent responds here. They might have something like a Fatal Push, and it looks like they do. A Bitter Blossom. Bitter Blossom's not one I was expecting. So I think I want to lead with this Mimic. It's definitely going to be a more difficult, just in our current state. Alright, a Scavenging Ooze. So he's going to try and exile this Mimic. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to dismember the Ooze. End of my turn. Alright, Ooze is gone. So we have a Scourge in hand. I don't think I want my opponent to know that yet. So I think I'm going to play out the Scourge from exile. And then we'll swing in with our 3/3. And then next turn I can swing for 6. So he's going to be taking damage on top of... Alright, he might have a Fatal Push here. Alright, now he's just ahead on the board. However, if he has to keep blocking our Scroungers, then that might just be better long term for us. Alright, so I'm going to swing in. Try to put some pressure on our opponent. Bitter Blossom was definitely good here. If we draw something like Eldrazi Displacer, not Eldrazi Displacer, wrong deck. If we draw a Reality Smasher, I don't think Bitter Blossom's gonna get there. That's why I was kind of surprised they were playing it like they were. So they might have something here like an Assassin's Trophy to exile Scourge. I keep calling them Scroungers. Played Mono Red Scrap Heap a little too long. Yeah, I figured they would do that here. So we're going to get a waste. So our opponent's down to 14. Swings in for 1, which I'm a little surprised about. Maybe our opponent's just trying to race us. Damnation. This is a little weird to me. I think I'm going to take 4 just so we can have a Scourge. Oh, your opponent controls. That was a super big misplay on my part. Now we know. Ugh. That was not smart on my part. Mutavault's alright. Alright, so a little bit on the okay, not so bright, kind of bright side is we can play anything from our deck at this point. So hopefully we can draw a Reality Smasher. Oh, I'm not having a very good night. Alright, so we swing in for 1. Our opponent goes down to 12. So Mutavault off the top. I think we're going to swing in with our Mutavault on the battlefield. So the interesting thing about this is I can target that's pretty neat. Okay, so our opponent blocks with a fairy. Mutavault down. Not Mutavault down, but we'll play the Mutavault from our hand. And we'll just use these Mutavaults to our Blink Moth to pump these Mutavaults, and we will start swinging in. It'd definitely be a fun win to win off some Mutavault action. So Scavenger Grounds is actually really good. I want to keep mana open for that as much as I can. So we're going to swing in here. They might have a removal spell for one of these Mutavaults. Alright, it looks like an Assassin's Trophy. I guess I'll float a mana. So we're getting our basics out of our deck. Alright. We'll swing in here. Ugh, I missed a point of damage there. I'm just misplaying out the wazoo. So our opponent seems to be drawing a bunch of lands. The one thing good here that I didn't do, so I didn't expose the Blink Moth pump ability on the Mutavault yet. So I'm going to swing in here and hopefully they block or double block. Okay. Turn off auto yields. That's fine. So I'm going to actually pump it now. So Mutavault becomes a 3/3. Kills their fairies. I get a scry. Serum Powder on the bottom. And we'll pass the turn. So like I said, I don't really think Bitter Blossom's very good here. Alright, there's the Tireless Tracker. Chalice. What do I even play Chalice on? Chalice on 2, 3, 4? So if we swing in here, they might block with Tracker. But I think I'm fine with... I think I want to play Chalice on 2. We've already seen 2 Mimics. And I think we sideboarded out. Yeah, that Warping Whale. Alright, so I'm going to activate. And if they want to trade a Tireless Tracker with a Mutavault, I'm fine with that. Alright, I'm fine with that as well. Hopefully his Chalice on 2 gets something off our opponent, but we'll see. They're on currently a 5-turn clock without me doing anything. Alright, so our opponent's swinging with Tireless Tracker. I'm going to activate Blink Moth and block. Because now I can just target it, give it +2/+2, and trade with the Tireless Tracker. Which I don't think my opponent realized. Which is all the better for us. Alright, now we have a Scourge. I'm going to start by swinging in with this Mutavault. I'm assuming our opponent blocks and keeps blocking for the rest of the game. And I just think they have their back against the wall. One thing I can also do is exile Scavenging Grounds. Oh my goodness. I bypassed my... This game is the worst game of Magic I have ever played on Moto. This is absurd. Alright, so we have a Vraska. Destroy target non-land permanent with converted mana cost 3 or less. So now our opponent can gain some life. Yeah, we're not in a great spot here. Alright, so I'm definitely exiling my graveyard this turn. Alright, start with the attack. Pause on the main phase. So Vraska ultimate's at 9, so we only have a 3-turn clock. Alright, I'm used to having my end step. Not end step, end of combat phase played. Alright, now we have all the Scourges. And hopefully next turn we have lethal. So our opponent falls down the 4, goes back up to 5 with Vraska by sacrificing a land. And then we can swing in for 5. So our opponent needs Damnation. So our opponent goes up to 5. And we swing in for 2. Alright, here we go. We can actually cast the Simian Spirit Guide because of Gemstone Cavern, which is kind of neat. Which is something we're going to do. Alright, so we're going to play this Scourge, and then we're going to play this Simian, and hopefully our opponent is out of answers. And we'll pass the turn. And did we get there? Despite playing an atrocious game. I think both our opponent and us had misplays there. Mine were blatantly obvious because I realized them as soon as I clicked past something and cried. I didn't really cry, but I yelled about it. Alright, our opponent trying to hang in here. I don't think it's going to matter. So we have a Karn coming out. I'm just going to activate Mutavault, swing, see what happens. Our opponent may have a removal spell. But even if they do, they're not going to be able to kill either of these. We're going to be left with a minimum of 1 permanent, and that's just going to be able to possibly swing for lethal next turn. Alright, and they don't have a removal spell. Alright, time for game number 3. Our opponent gets to play first. Or they get to decide. I'm assuming they're playing first. If they're not playing first, we can assume they are. Alright, so we have possibly a turn 2 Scourge. So we don't have too many fast mana cards, but we do have a nice curve. So I'm going to keep this hand. Hopefully we draw another land. And our opponent is most likely doing unfair things. Possibly a red-black burn or a red-black Phoenix deck. Alright, the Void was pretty good for us. So we're going to scry here. Warping Whale. I'm going to put that card on the bottom. I know we don't know what we're playing against right now, but I just don't see too many instances for that card to be helpful for us. Countering a Lava Spike would be okay, but we'll see down the road. That's why we're here. We're trying to learn. Alright, so we're down to 17, which I feel like we might be in an okay spot. Next turn they're probably swinging for a lot. So I think I'm going to play out an Eternal. No, I'm going to play out this Matter Reshaper. Matter Reshaper gets to replace itself. I know Eternal Scourge does too, but I just think we're able to possibly get ahead if we do that. So Lava Spike, maybe I should have kept that other card. So I think no matter what here, we block. Alright, Skullcrack down to 8. Yeah, this is lethal. So we definitely block here. And then hopefully our opponent is out of gas after this. Battlefield. So we have a Scourge on the battlefield. We have a Scourge in hand that's going to the battlefield. Next turn we can play out a Thought-Knot Seer. And then hopefully curve in for these Reality Smashers, and hopefully that wins the game. Our opponent is playing a burn deck though, and we're at 4 life, which is pretty okay. Not pretty okay. It's the ideal life total, I guess, if you're almost dead. Our opponent is playing a Mardu burn deck as opposed to Naya burn or Burrows burn. Not sure exactly what the black is for. Alright, so I'm not going to attack. I'm definitely going to keep a blocker back. And I'm going to hope our opponent's out of gas and we survive. Alright, Eidolon does not worry me at all. Let me just play these 4 and 5 mana spells. Our opponent may cast something if they have something instant speed, which they do. They have a Lightning Bolt here. Alright, so I am down to 1. And not attacking. So hopefully our opponent doesn't draw anything. Thank you. And now we need to draw land. And we can't even cast that. Yeah, there's no way we can get it. So we can't cast these. Our only out is drawing a land and attacking with Reality Smashers. I guess I could attack with Thought-Knot Seer here. Because I have Mutavault back to block. And if they don't see that, then I might just be able to get one by them. And they found something. Oh, they didn't. Alright, that's good for us. So now if we draw a land, I think we just win. Does he see the Mutavault? Yes, he does. Alright, so... this is an awkward spot to be in. So I can play the Reality Smasher, but I can't actually attack with it. Unless I attack with everything, because then he has to attack with everything. Or then he has to block with everything. Let's see. This can be blocked. Does this force him to double block? No, because he can block here and take 5. So I can't actually block here. Alright, hopefully our opponent doesn't draw anything. If they do, that's unfortunate. This game came down to a Goblin Guide. Are you serious? And we got a land off the Goblin Guide. That's brutal. So our opponent hits us exactly for lethal. The Burn versus Eldrazi match. Maybe I had to attack that turn, but I think he would have been able to survive. And then he had that Goblin Guide on top to attack back for the lethal. Alright, so Dismember's out. Spatial Contortion in. Batterskull. I think I take out a Warping Whale. I mean, I can make a blocker, or I could counter a Lava Spike, but neither of those are appealing to me. I think I'm going to play this 60. So I brought in a Batterskull. I brought in 4 Spatial Contortions. I took out the Dismembers. I took out a Warping Whale. Alright, we are on the draw. I'm going to keep this hand. I am going to mulligan this hand. And I'm going to use Serum Powder. And I'm going to keep this hand because it's funny. We exiled 3 Eternal Scroungers, so it's like our opening hand mulliganed us down to 10. If that makes any sense. Alright, we're going to just get aggressive here. We might as well have all the Scroungers, because why not? Sure. Alright, we're going to cast this Mimic. And we're just going to start swinging with 3/3s on turn 2. Alright, Goblin Guide. I'm assuming he attacks here. He's going to reveal that Scourger. I'm going to probably call him Scroungers all night, so you guys are just going to have to laugh at me and write angry comments. Alright, yes, attack. Dead. Well, he's not dead yet, but... Our opponent down to 14. And a Searing Blaze, which doesn't hurt us that much. What would hurt us in this predicament is a... Alright, we got a Blink Moth. Mimic. It is tempting to play this Mimic, but I think I just want to be mana efficient. Swing in for 3, keep the pressure on. I apologize, guys, I jump around a little bit. I typically run wherever my attention's drawn, so. Alright, opponent. Let's see you get away from these Eternal Scourges. Eternal Scourge. Alright, second Goblin Guide. I'm assuming he swings. We get 1 mana, or 1 Mutavault, and what was the second card revealed? A Serum Powder. That's not what we want. Alright, so we're not in a bad spot right here. The question is, do I want to swing for a 6, or do I want to take a turn off? I think I'm going to swing first. Swing for 5. I think my follow-up's going to be this Serum Powder and an Eldrazi Mimic. And then next turn I have Mimic, Scourge, Mutavault, Blink Moth. Alright, so now we're on our main phase. Tap all those. Serum Powder. Does he know about this Mimic? No. So our opponent's thinking about something, and I'm not sure what. I don't think we're dead here. Sure. So now we have 5 mana on the battlefield. We can play out another Blink Moth next turn. We can either animate our lands and swing for a bunch, or we can... So I think if he attacks, I'm definitely going to block. Alright, Rift Bolt on top. So Goblin Guide. Alright. So I think we just have lethal. And I don't even have to fire up these Blink Moths. So, Mutavault, combat, swing all. Oh, shoot. Alright, so I guess I missed lethal. But I do get to play this Chalice on one. which means we might not be dead next turn. So we're taking 3. If he has a Burrow's Charm, we're dead. If he doesn't, we might be alive. Hopefully we don't just lose to a Burrow's Charm and Burrow's Charm. Hello everyone and welcome. We are playing Colorless Eldrazi. We have 2 Gemstone Caverns, but only 1 can be on the battlefield at a time because they're legendary. That being said, we do have a Thought-Knot Seer and a Reality Smasher and a Warping Whale. So I'm tempted to keep this hand. I think I'm going to. However, we're not going to play both caverns. We're going to play a cavern, actually exile a cavern. And then hopefully we have a Chalice of the Void somewhere on top, or this Warping Whale is able to counter something for us. So I don't think exiling Gemstone Cavern gives away what we're doing. It looks like we're against Valakut. Alright, Scourge, that's good here. I think I want to lead on Void, because next turn I'm going to play the Nexus. And there's a Matter Reshaper. I think I just want to find my lands. I know Matter Reshaper does a good job doing that, but alright, search for tomorrow. Alright, our opponent's on Valakut and kept a 1-land hand. That's definitely interesting. Alright, we're going to play Scourge here. I'm half tempted to counter this search for tomorrow with Warping Whale. When it comes off Suspend next turn, because our choices are do that or Thought-Knot Seer. Maybe Thought-Knot Seer is just better. Exiling 1 condition definitely seems better than. Plus we can keep Warping Whale for something like Scapeshift. Our opponent's decision to keep a 1-land hand definitely intrigues me as to what they have. Alright, so it looks like they have 2 Search for Azcanthos. And they drew a Stomping Ground for the turn. Alright, so now we're just going to lead with this Thought-Knot Seer. And then attack with our Scourge. Through the Breach, Primeval Titan, Summoner's Pact. Interesting. So I have seen this deck before. I used to play this deck before. I think I want to take the Through the Breach and just force our opponent to have those extra turns trying to find the mana. Through the Breach is also instant speed, and we can't counter it with Warping Whale. Summoner's Pact is also instant speed. Alright, so we have an Elder come out. Ooh, I'm going to play this Chalice for 0. And then I'm going to swing in with the team. So now that Summoner's Pact's dead in his hand, alright, so our opponent goes and gets a land. We're going to play out this Matter Reshaper, and hopefully we draw a land next turn for a Reality Smasher. Alright, Matter Reshaper down. down on the battlefield, not down in the graveyard. So next turn we're actually threatening lethal if we get this Reality Smasher down. But our opponent could also have lethal this turn. Actually, I don't think they can. So they grab land through the breach. They can have potentially lethal this turn. So our opponent, all right, cast another search. So next turn they can play out Primeval Titan, but I believe they're just going to be dead by then. So I'm going to play this Eldrazi Mimic. I'm going to swing in for 11. And our opponent can get Valakut and kill our, I don't know, any of his targets just aren't great. I think he's just dead here. I think he's just trying to find an out. If he drew a land, he can grab 2 Valakuts here, play the land, and kill 2 of our things. Possibly a Thought-Knot here. But I can just animate Blink Moth, swing in with Mimic. He's dead here. I think he's just trying to look for a way out. Alright. If he doesn't see it, we'll show him. If he just had like exile something fog, that'd be rough, but alright, our opponent is dead. And we'll move into the sideboard. So our opponent's playing a faster version of Valakut. Dampening Sphere doesn't do anything. Dismember is probably okay. I mean, it's not great, but it's okay. Because our opponent ideally goes turn 3. They typically have at least 3 mountains on the battlefield. And the combo is 3 or 4. They'll probably have 4 mountains on the battlefield. And then they threw the breach in a Primeval Titan. Primeval Titan, when it enters, grabs Valakut. And then when it swings, it grabs Mountain. Triggering the Valakut 4 times, dealing 12 damage to your opponent, and then the Primeval Titan deals 6 damage itself. Or if you have blockers, it deals trample damage. And then you're typically able to just finish them off with another land, be it from your hand or from one of your fetch, not fetch lands, but one of your fetch spells. Looking at all the stuff to possibly bring in, I could see bringing in the Batterskull. And Chalice doesn't really... I guess Chalice stops Pact and Bolt. But I don't know if our opponent's running Bolt. I could see cutting a Chalice, though. Warping Whale stops Scape Shift in case... I think this list typically main deck runs 1. And then sideboard will run 2 or 3 more. And depending on how that... Depending on how our opponent takes this matchup, will depend on what our opponent decides. I think when I was running this deck, I don't think I played... I think I played a second Scape Shift in the sideboard, and I played 7 or 8 different creature interaction spells. That way I could just bring in variants of Through the Breach combos, or just ways of like interacting with your opponent, like Thrun or World Spine Worm, I think was a spicy one, or Hornet Queen was decent. So our opponent's on the play. We have 2 lands. I don't want to exile these, but I'm just curious if this is a keepable hand. It definitely has pressure if we're able to get up to Reality Smasher. I guess I keep this and hope the top of our library treats us well. The question is, what do I exile here? Probably Dismember, because maybe not. So we draw a Temple off the top. We can Temple, Void, Smasher. I think it is one of these Smashers. It's really rough to do that, but if I draw another land, I can get the Serum Powder on the battlefield, and then alright, let's scry here. I'm looking for another land at minimum. Alright, that's not another land. I'm going to put that on the bottom. I think I'm just going to play the Serum Powder here. Because no matter what, if I drew a land, I'm just playing land Thought-Knot Seer. Because, I mean, I guess I could play land Serum Powder and then the following turn Reality Smasher, but I think this Thought-Knot Seer just disrupts the combo enough. You want to get him out as soon as possible. So our opponent here finds a Cinder Glade and passes back the turn. We find another land that's not ideal because I have to sacrifice it. Oh my goodness, I clicked the wrong land too. Alright, so we're going to play Thought-Knot Seer here. These games tonight are Misplay Central. Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn. Roast. Scape Shift. Oh my goodness. So I think the play here is definitely take the Through the Breach. He's gonna roast our guy and draw a card, but there's just nothing we can do if he Emrakul's us. We got there game 1. Hopefully we can get there game 3 if we lose this one. We have plenty of time. I definitely shouldn't be rushing through my plays like I have been. All of this is for learning purposes, so it's definitely not a bad thing. I mean, it's not a good thing, but it's not a bad thing to be making these misplays. I'd rather make them somewhere it doesn't count as much as opposed to somewhere like a modern GP or what have you. So that doesn't do anything for us. We're just going to pass the turn. I'm upset with myself that I got rid of that Gemstone Cavern with a land on it, or with a counter on it. So our opponent, we know, has Emrakul Scapeshift in hand. We do not know anything else about their hand. So next turn we can play this Reality Smasher and hopefully get something done. Our opponent can start hitting us with Valakut triggers starting next turn. We don't have a Scourge in exile, do we? No. Alright, so we're going to swing in for 5. If our opponent has Mountain, they just win next turn. Because they can go land, Scapeshift. Land, deal 3 to us, and then Scapeshift for 18. Alright, so they don't actually win from here. Alright, that temple doesn't do anything. Alright, so our opponent's not dead this turn. That second Reality Smasher kind of sucks, it's gone. But I think the way the game played out, I think we just drew an undesirable, unfavorable hand. So our opponent now can just go, if they wanted to, they can fetch a Mountain now, deal 9 to us. So our opponent, I think, is debating if they want to go for it or not. Alright, it looks like they're not going to. So that's actually pretty good for us. But I think they're going to kill this Reality Smasher, so we'll see. I wonder if they realize the Valakut triggers. Target spell. Yeah. So I was gonna say, I wonder if they realize the Valakut triggers they don't have to discard for that, but looks like they do. They did. Alright, so Smasher's down. We're gonna play the Scourge. We're gonna whine our hand sucks, because our hand sucks. And we're gonna pray that game 3 is a lot better than this one. I think our opponent is worried about Warping Whale. Which, good. They should be. But once they cast the Scapeshift, they just win. We have nothing to do. I don't know if they know they have lethal on board. Hopefully they do, but... Alright, Scourge is exiled. Our opponent is, like, really going after our creatures. They must think we have something we don't. I'm assuming it's Warping Whale. It's the only thing I can think of why they aren't casting the Scapeshift. Our opponent's thinking about it. Alright. I'm going to let our opponent go ahead and do this. Hopefully they do it properly. If they don't, then they lose. Just not grab 6 mountains off of Valakut. Alright, so our opponent is getting something. Show me your lands. It would be quite ironic if our opponent didn't have the necessary lands in his deck to kill us with the Scape Shift trigger. But it looks like he does. So he's getting Valakut, 6 cards, and we're just dead. Yeah, he's got the yielding stuff on, and we're being attacked from all different Valakuts. I'm actually very surprised this isn't a legendary land, but it is what it is. I was in doubt of winning that game. Get it, opponent. Alright, I think we're just going to run this back. I can see running... No, I think I just want to be aggressive. I guess. I could see running Karn instead of like a Dismember and a Chalice. Just as an extra way to try and get ahead. Ultimate Masters comes out Friday, December 7th. I'm pretty excited about that. Hopefully everyone listening gets some drafts in. This hand's... I want to say garbage, but it's not. I guess it's not terrible. I'm going to keep this. We have a turn 3 Reality Smasher. Hopefully that's faster than whatever they're going to try and do. So we're going to lead with Temple. We can pretty much cast anything we have. We have a Ghost Quarter in case they play an early Valakut, but we'll see. I'll just play a Temple. We'll play a Chalice. Actually, I think we want to play a Chalice for 0. I think that's better because they can't search their library with Pact. And that's kind of the combo piece. I don't think I'm as worried about like something like Lightning Bolt. Alright, so our opponent cast a Simian. It's not going to matter against this Reality Smasher. We're going to play a Blink Moth here. We're only using 5 mana this turn. Alright, and now we have our opponent on a turn 4 clock. And I don't think they're going to be able to race that. They're probably swinging in for 1 with Simian. Alright, there's a Valakut. There's a Simian. I'm so sorry. That's a Steve. That's a Sakura Tribe Elder. So the question is here, what do I want to do? I think I want to start by swinging. If they have the combo in hand, I think we just lose. Because they have 5 mana right now, and they can play another land. The question is when they lose. So they get Valakut 18. I guess I'm questioning what does Ghost Quartering their Valakut do for me. I think we're going to wait a turn. I think I want to Ghost Quarter this Valakut, but I think I want to wait until they cast something. Because right now with 4 and 5 mountains, it doesn't do anything. They didn't grab a second green source, which is interesting to me. But if they just have Emrakul, okay, they don't. I was gonna say if they just have Emrakul, then you know it is what it is. All right, so I'm gonna Ghost Quarter this now. I'm assuming they go get something with the Sakura Tri-Builder and deal 3 to us. Yeah. If we just got Emrakul there, that would have felt really bad for us, but we didn't, so I guess that's lucky of us. And next turn we're swing for 9. If we draw, nah, we have nothing that can swing for 9. So we can swing with Blinkmoth and put him to, I guess the lethal play last turn was play a Blinkmoth instead of this Ghost Quarter, boost Blinkmoth for 2, swing, hit him to 7, and then hit him again for 7 this turn. So this might be another one of those matchups where we misplayed and lost because of it. Definitely swinging in for 5 here. I think my play is just Batterskull now. If I start gaining life next turn, he doesn't have a lethal threat next turn, then I think we just win. But if he has anything, I think we're just dead. The only out we have, or the only thing he can have that doesn't fully impact anything is a Titan. But if he has Through the Breach Emrakul, Through the Breach Titan, that's just it for us. There's no out. But he's a land deck and he has a lot of search engines, so hopefully his ramp kind of got in that way, and hopefully we're able to take advantage of that. Not take advantage of that, but he just hopefully isn't able to draw anything, and then hopefully I am able to swing in next turn for lethal. So Batterskull resolves. If he has Emrakul, it's not lethal. And we sack 5 permanents, so I think we just win. We just sack our lands and then win with Reality Smasher and Batterskull. Unless he has that lightning bolt that I was saying we don't want Chalice in 1/4. Alright, so he has 4 mana open. I don't know if our opponent's thinking or trying to talk to us. I have the chat muted, one of Magic Online's new options. So hopefully he's not trying to talk to us. With Ultimate Masters coming out, are you guys excited about the reprints? Are you guys satisfied with the box? Are you guys not satisfied with the box? Do you guys like the box toppers? Do you think they're stupid? Are you excited to play Jund because all the cards are going down in price and it makes it a little more affordable? Are you excited to play Boggles because there's so many important reprints in this set for Boggles? Is our opponent just being a bad person and not playing? Alright, it looks like he's playing. Our opponent goes land and scape shift, and he wins. Our opponent down to 1. What does he have? This is probably one of the biggest slow rolls I have ever witnessed on Magic Online. Opponent, what are you doing? Move the combat. Swing all. Our opponent is casting Through the Breach. Through the Breaching an Emrakul. Through the Breaching nothing. Did this Chalice on 0 save us? Did this Chalice on 0 save us? Destroy target artifact. Okay. So artifact down. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Alright, so we did win. I don't think we won because of the Chalice, though, because he could have just abraded the Chalice and gotten like a Primeval Titan and swung for lethal. But we did win nonetheless. Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Jordan with Crocodile MTG. We are playing Colorless Eldrazi. I'm not going to keep this hand. We have 1 land. Not going to keep mulligan. I think this is also a mulligan, but we can use Serum Powder. So we're actually able to exile our hand, draw 6 more, sorry. We're going to keep this one. We'll put a Gemstone Cavern on top just because we need a 3rd land. And without further ado, let's go ahead and crush some face. So we have a Lanamore Elves on turn 1 from our opponent. And we have a Dismemberer on our opponent's untap step. Not on our opponent's untap step, but on our opponent's end of turn, because they're most likely going to run out one of their lords here. And I would like to kill all the mana lords. Unless they run out 3 3-drops, which would be unfortunate and bad for us because we have these 2 chalices in hand. I think it's just way better for us if these chalices get down next turn. So that's why I'm hoping our Lanamore Elves opponent will play out a Lord, and then we're able to throw down this chalice and hopefully not make them happy today. So it looks like they're going to attack first, which doesn't make much sense unless they don't have a Lord and they're just relying on Collected Company. I have no idea what our opponent is doing, but we're going to take 5. We take 4 from the Dismember and 1 from the Lanamore Elf. So we're just putting that out there. And now we're going to play Chalice on 1 and hopefully that does something relevant against our opponent. Next turn, I'm going to play this Matter Reshaper, and it'd be really cool to find a temple, Eldrazi temple, and be able to run out this Reality Smasher. So, once again, I have no idea what our opponent is playing, or why their turn 2 was just swing with a Land of More Elf. The only thing I can assume is they have Collect a Company, and they were trying to turn 3 Collect a Company. I do also want to point out, I just noticed our opponent has 90 cards in their deck, and I'm not sure the reason for that. So I did draw this Reality Smasher. I'm going to play the Matter Reshaper first, and then next turn I can start swinging for 8, and hopefully that's enough to kill our opponent. Obviously not 8, but between 2 or 3 turns. Next turn I can play swing for 8. The following turn I can Mutavault, boost the Mutavault with the Blink Moth, and then swing for a lot of damage. I have no idea what our opponent is playing. Our opponent is very green, mana heavy. They probably have Collect a Company here. I really don't think I care. That being said, if I lose because of this Collect a Company, that stinks. Maybe our opponent just has a bunch of 1 mana cards in their hand that they can't cast, which I don't know why they wouldn't have cast them. Maybe our opponent is new to Modern. If you're new to Modern, that's pretty cool. I have nothing against that. Enrage. Whenever it takes damage, create a 1/1 sapling. Alright, I'm sorry, opponent, but you're not playing something I'm very familiar with. I'm going to put this on top. If our opponent doesn't die this turn, which I don't think they will, we can simply... Actually, Thought-Knot Seer. I'm going to get in with this Blink Moth. I'm going to swing with everything. If our opponent blocks the Matter Reshaper, I can play this Eldrazi Displacer. Eldrazi Displacer. I meant Thought-Knot Seer. Maybe there's an infinite combo I don't know about. Alright, so Thought-Knot Seer down. Question is, does our opponent scoop here, or are they going to let me see what they're playing? Because 90 cards, green mana, I have no clue. Plummet. Alright. This seems like our opponent is new to Modern. I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. I'm going to take the 7/6. I'm not sure our opponent knows what they're doing. Their hand is Plummet, Oaken Form, and Jade Bearer. And the Jade Bearer, when it enters, you put a 1/1 counter on another target merfolk you control. And he has dinosaurs and saplings. Our opponent's playing fast, so they know how to click through the stuff. I just have no idea what they're doing with it. So Oakenform's out. I mean, I guess he can play this Jade Bearer, but it doesn't do anything. He's tapping 2 mana, and Plummet definitely doesn't hit Thought Knot Seer or Reality Smasher. So I'm not sure what he's doing here. This is an odd one. That is for sure. So I don't have lethal this turn. I'm going to activate Blink Moth. Oh, he has this Plummet for Blink Moth next turn. It's a little odd. I don't see our opponent having a way out of this. Again, I don't really know what our opponent's doing. Maybe they thought this was Pauper. Yeah, these are definitely all uncommon cards. No, common cards. I guess Llanowar Elves isn't, but... Alright, so I'm going to swing in for 2. He seems to know how Chalice works because he's not playing Jade Bearer. And now next turn I can just go animate Mutavault, swing, he blocks, and then I can make Mutavault a 4/4 with my 2 Blink Moth Nexuses. Nexusi. Or I can play Chalice for 2 and then... Yeah, I think I'd just rather play the lethal way. Alright, so we win game 1 with our opponent's Pauper deck. Game 2, I think I want this Batter Skull. And I guess these Karns. Warping Whale doesn't... Okay, so we just won. I think the deck is okay in Modern. We didn't play against any actual Modern decks tonight. We played against all these weird brews, all these weird decks. Overall, I think if you're going to your local game store and like a small metagame, I think this deck is fine. I think there's definitely still the same power that Eldrazi has. I think the Mimics can get large very fast. I think Eternal Scourge... Hey, that's the first time I called a Scourge tonight. Eternal Scourge is definitely resilient against the 1-for-1 removal cards. It doesn't get hit with Path. It doesn't get hit with... Well, it doesn't get hit with anything that targets. It's definitely a better Eldrazi card. Like, for a colorless card that costs 3 mana, not even 3 mana, or like 2 in a colorless, like Matter Reshaper, it definitely has a lot of resilience you don't typically see. And it also pairs with Eldrazi Temple really well. The Blink Moth, the Mutavaults, I think those were an interesting combo I didn't really see when I was first looking at this deck. Just your ability to make Mutavault a 4/4 or a 3/3 with your Blink Moth Nexuses, I think that's pretty cool. Having 4 dismembers is, I mean, pretty decent. This metagame likes to get very large very fast. I don't know how it's going to do against the new blue-red, mono-red, like the the Phoenix decks, I don't think that's necessarily where you want to be with Dismember. I think Phoenix might overpower this deck on some level, but if you're able to kind of outrace them, get an early Reality Smasher down, early Thought-Knot Seer, you don't have many blockers in the air, but I think you're able to kind of outrace them. Plus, you have Leylines on the sideboard if you want to combat their graveyard a little bit. Overall, I think the deck is okay. I just think we had a really weird night with a lot of janky decks, and I'm just kind of interested to see where this actually goes. And, you know, it 5-0s every now and again. It makes decent, like, top 16, top 32s in most GP or SCG tournaments. Overall, I think this deck is decent. That's all I can say. Like, Eldrazi has a very powerful shell to it, and I don't think it's the most played deck, but it's definitely like in the top, I'd say 16 decks. There's definitely still a pretty strong Eldrazi player base, and it probably is equivalent to Tron, maybe a little less in the major tournaments. It doesn't make day 2 as much as Tron, I don't think, and we don't see this on camera as much. But overall, I think the deck's good. Like I said, I think tonight was a really weird night to record. I think we got paired against the crappiest matchups that we could have got paired against. But overall, not crappiest in a bad way, just like we played against a lot of people's homebrews tonight. So let me know what you think about the deck. Let me know if you really thought this was a fair assessment of the deck, or if you think the deck is just bad.